You are standing in a room full of people. Music is playing, glasses are clinking, voices are everywhere. And yet, somewhere underneath all of it, there is this quiet, strange feeling that nobody in this room actually knows you. That you could disappear and the noise would keep going. That you are, somehow, completely alone. You have probably felt this before. Maybe last week. Maybe right now. And if you have, you assumed something was wrong with you. But the real answer is far stranger. That feeling has a name, a biology, and a history that goes back further than civilization itself. It is called loneliness, and your brain was specifically built to manufacture it, not as a flaw, as a feature. Researchers John Cacioppo and William Patrick spent decades mapping the neuroscience of loneliness, and what they found dismantled everything most people believed about it. Loneliness is not an emotion, it is a biological signal. The same way hunger tells your body it needs food, loneliness tells your brain it needs social connection. It is a survival mechanism, an alarm. And like all alarms, it does not care whether the threat is real. It only cares that you act. Here is the problem. Your brain was not designed for the modern world. It was designed for a world where the crowd around you was your tribe, where every face was familiar, where being known by others was the difference between surviving the winter and dying alone in the cold. For roughly 95% of human history, you lived in groups of 20 to 150 people. Anthropologist Robin Dunbar identified this number in the early 1990s after comparing primate brain sizes to social group sizes across dozens of species. The larger the neocortex relative to the rest of the brain, the larger the stable social group the animal could maintain. When he applied this to humans, the number came out to around 150. That became known as Dunbar's number. It is, very roughly, the maximum number of people you can genuinely know. The ceiling of your social brain. Every human alive spent hundreds of thousands of years inside groups that never exceeded that number. You knew everyone. Everyone knew you. Your reputation, your relationships, your place in the hierarchy, your worth as a member of the community, it was all legible to the people around you. You were seen. Now fast forward. You live in a city of millions. You scroll past thousands of faces a day. You have hundreds of contacts in your phone. Your workplace has 200 employees. And almost none of them actually know you. They know your name. They know your job title. Some of them know what you ordered for lunch. But the version of you that worries at 3 in the morning, the version that is still trying to figure something out that broke in childhood, the version that wants to be understood in a way that does not require explanation, that version is largely invisible to all of them. Your brain registers this, and it fires the alarm. The cruel irony is that the alarm makes everything worse. Cacioppo's research showed that chronic loneliness does not make you reach toward connection. It makes you pull back. It makes you hypervigilant. Your nervous system begins interpreting social ambiguity as threat. A friend who takes too long to reply becomes proof of rejection. A party you were not invited to becomes evidence of your worthlessness. A crowded room becomes a place where everyone can see how alone you are. The lonelier you feel, the more your brain scans for danger in other people. And the more danger it finds, the lonelier you feel. It is a loop, and evolution built it on purpose. Think about what happened to an early human who was separated from the tribe. Out in the open, alone, without shelter or backup or collective knowledge, you were prey. Your odds of survival dropped dramatically. So your brain developed a system that made social disconnection feel like physical pain, that made isolation so uncomfortable you would do almost anything to end it, that made you get back to the group as fast as possible. Neuroscientist Naomi Eisenberger ran a landmark study at UCLA in 2003 where she put participants in a brain scanner and had them play a virtual ball-tossing game. At a certain point, the other players stopped throwing the ball to them. They were excluded, just in a game. Just with strangers they could not even see, and the part of their brain that activated was the dorsal anterior cingulate cortex, the same region that processes physical pain. Social rejection, even trivial, simulated social rejection, registers in the human brain as pain. Not metaphorically, literally. You were built to feel this, because the ones who felt it most strongly were the ones who ran back to the group, who stayed, who survived, who passed on their genes. The ache of loneliness is ancient. It is the inheritance of every human who ever made it through. But here is where it gets saint. Modern loneliness is not about being physically isolated. Survey data from researchers at Cigna in 2019 found that nearly 60% of Americans reported feeling lonely often or always. These are not hermits. These are not people living off-grid in the wilderness. These are people surrounded by colleagues, neighbors, followers, and friends. People who are connected to more humans than any ancestor ever was, and who feel more alone than ever. Why? Because quantity was never the variable. Your brain does not count heads. It measures depth. It measures the ratio between the version of you that is visible and the version of you that actually exists. And in a world optimized for performance and surface presentation, that ratio has collapsed. Think about how you present yourself. At work, you perform competence. On social media, you curate a version of your life that trends toward the highlight. Even in casual conversation, you do the social math of what is appropriate to say, how much is too much, how vulnerable is too vulnerable. You are rarely fully present. You are almost always managing an image, and the people around you are doing the exact same thing. So you have rooms full of people, all managing their image for each other, none of them actually making contact with each other. It is like wearing a suit of armor to a dance. You can feel the music, but you cannot feel anyone else. Philosopher Brené Brown has written extensively about the relationship between vulnerability and connection, and the core finding is almost insultingly simple. You cannot feel connected to people who have not seen you, and people cannot see you if you never let the armor come off. The very mechanism you use to protect yourself from rejection is the mechanism that guarantees isolation. And the modern world has given you more armor than any human in history. You have platforms that let you present without being seen. You have devices that let you respond without being present. You have the constant option of replacing the discomfort of real intimacy with the smooth, low-friction simulation of it. A like, a comment, a reply that keeps the surface of a relationship alive without requiring you to go anywhere near the depth of one. Your ancestors did not have this option. When you lived in a group of 100 people and the only entertainment was each other, you had no choice but to go deeper. Conflict happened and had to be resolved. Grief was witnessed by the whole group. Joy was shared in real space with real faces. Boredom pushed you into conversation. Darkness pushed you into proximity. The result was not perfect. Tribal life had its own brutal hierarchies and cruelties, but it produced something your brain still needs desperately and struggles to build in the modern world. It produced being known. Actually, fully, inconveniently known. There is research suggesting that one honest conversation, one exchange where someone says what they actually think and feel and the other person receives it without flinching, has more measurable impact on loneliness than a dozen pleasant interactions. Quality over quantity, not as a piece of advice, but as a neurological fact. Your brain is not hungry for contact. It is hungry for witness. And here is the thing about crowds. Crowds are not the opposite of loneliness. They never were. Your brain knows the difference between proximity and presence. It knows the difference between being near someone and being with them. A room full of people all facing their phones is not a social experience. It is a collection of individuals who have chosen the same physical location to be alone in. And sometimes you are one of them. This does not make you broken. It makes you human. It makes you the product of a nervous system built for a world that no longer exists, trying to meet ancient needs inside infrastructure that was never designed to meet them. The loneliness you feel at a party is not a social failure. It is your brain doing exactly what it was built to do, scanning for depth, measuring for real contact, and reporting back accurately when it cannot find it. The signal is not wrong. The world just changed faster than the wiring, which means the answer is probably not to find a bigger crowd. It is to find a smaller one. To build, slowly, the kind of closeness your brain actually recognizes as safety. To let one person see the version of you that exists at 3 in the morning, to receive another person the same way. To practice the thing that feels riskier than it is and costs more than it seems like it should, but produces the only thing your nervous system has ever actually been looking for. Being known. Tonight, you might find yourself in a room full of people. Music playing, glasses clinking, voices everywhere. And somewhere underneath all of it, that quiet signal will fire. Not because something is wrong with you, but because something in you is still ancient, still wired for a world where that signal always meant the same thing. Get closer. Go deeper. Let someone in. The alarm is not the problem. It is the invitation.